Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of Memories of Murder, a crime drama thriller from 2003 that was directed by Bong Joon-ho and stars Kang-ho and Sang-kyung. Now, this is actually based on a stage play from 1996, which itself was based on a series of actual murders in real life. Now, some fairly recent news has come out regarding those murders in real life, but I would recommend that you do not research the backstory until after seeing the film if you haven't seen it yet. When I first saw this, the ending I thought was more impactful because I had no knowledge of real life events. So set in October of 1986, two women are found assaulted and murdered on the outskirts of a small town. Local detective Park Do-man, not having dealt with such a serious case before, is overwhelmed. Evidence is improperly collected, the police's investigation methods are suspect, and their forensic technology is near non-existent. Seo Tae-yoon, a detective from Seoul, volunteers to assist them. However, he and Park's methods clash in the investigation. So quite simply, Memories of Murder is a fantastic movie. It's difficult to review it without getting repetitive because everything in it is so great. And you could just say, this is great and that is great, and that's basically what I'm going to say. But it's particularly effective because it focuses on the psychological impact on the detectives as they investigate the murders. That's really where the meat of the film lies. And if you want an expertly developed character arc, this is a great example. And you get multiple expertly developed character arcs in this film. A good number of movies I review on this channel, at least a subsection, are not exactly great in the traditional filmmaking sense because some of the movies that I enjoy are rather unorthodox. Maybe they generate interest from their uniqueness or certain elements that lie outside of that traditional story and character development. But Memories of Murder is legitimately fantastic from top to bottom, including those traditional elements. The characters in this movie change a lot. If you look at the small town cop at the beginning of the film, compare it to how he acts at the end of the film. And then you look at the city cop, the detective. See how he acts at the beginning of the film and then compare it to how he's acting by the end of the film. These are like massive character arcs that are pretty expertly developed throughout this film. Social commentary here is nicely infused. The commentary on police abuse and how the police operate is pretty noticeable. All right, they really go for that one. But to Western viewers, at least, some of the other content may not be so obvious. It's not really beaten over your head as much like in some of Bong's future films like Snowpiercer or Okja. In fact, if you're not familiar with Korean culture of the 1980s, some of the social commentary will go right over your head in this. Like, for example, there's, what are the implications of the blackout military drill for the civilians that happens, right? Or the gas ray drill for the schoolgirls. Or the denied request for reinforcements that are instead being used to suppress, protests or something that's going on in a different location. Like, all of those references are kind of a direct commentary on what was going on in South Korea in the 80s. So it's good to, as you watch more Korean films, you'll grow more familiar with that stuff. But again, if you go into this cold and not having seen like any Korean films or knowing about the history, you might miss some of that stuff. And I like that because it's not everything is beaten over your head in this film. Investigation elements are good. Lots of dead ends. Lots of uncertainty as to who the killer is. You can understand why these detectives become obsessed with solving the case and the related frustrations that come with that. The emotional core of the film, I think, is very strong. Memories of Murder could probably be considered a genre bender, if only because it uses a fairly heavy amount of comedy early on. There are some genuinely funny moments that are used to assist in that character development. I like the drop kicks, especially in this film. People get drop kicked, and I giggle most of the time that happens. Acting is exceptional, especially by the leads. In terms of the supporting roles, fans of Korean cinema will recognize Park Hae-il, who shows up later on in the film, is probably the most convincing potential suspect to these crimes. It's just interesting to go back and see him in such an early role because he's rather popular nowadays. Some of my favorite scenes, of course, are the drop kicks, but also the riveting nighttime chase sequence. Really the only chase, action element, so to speak, in the entire film. And it's really good. It's pretty exciting. And then you get the final 15 minutes, which really, really are excellent. The final shot of this film is phenomenal. It's really good. So if you have somehow never seen Memories of Murder, you just absolutely need to watch it. It's a high priority item. It's one of the best Korean films of all time, I think. And to this day, it's still Bong Joon-ho's best film. So it's currently available on streaming as well as physical media. And as always, I will see you next time.